a system which has helped us to manage the arrival of more than 25,500 refugees into the UK in the last year, including more than 2,000 unaccompanied children that councils have taken in. But there clearly are some sticky issues that need to be worked through as we look at how we scale up the scheme, which has currently brought in around 200 Syrian refugees, to the point where we can bring in 20,000. And having seen the circumstances which some of those people are facing in the information we've been passed by the Home Office, it's clear many of them have very significant health needs, very significant disabilities as a result of injuries that they've suffered due to the civil war in Syria. And so we need to make sure that there is appropriate accommodation, there are school places for their children, and that the NHS is geared up to provide the care they're going to need once they arrive in the UK.
You've described the sticky issues, as you call them. What exactly are those points specifically that need to be addressed?
Well, the first is funding. We know that the government has announced that there will be money available for the first year to help resettle people into the UK, but they will be coming with a right to remain in our country for at least 5 years. So we need to work out how the costs of the housing and schooling and all the other things that they will require are paid for. And the second big issue is making sure that we can match the offers of accommodation which are coming in from many local authorities and from the public with the needs of those individuals. So, for example, a man who I'm aware of who has a wheelchair as a result of injuries that he's suffered, who's in a household with 6 other individuals, will clearly require appropriate accommodation, including accessible accommodation so that he can access it. So in order to make sure that that's available when people arrive, we need to make sure that there's a proper planning process, and that will involve local authorities that do this kind of thing day in, day out with people who find themselves in difficult circumstances in the UK, so that we can extend that to people who may be coming to our country from Syria.
And obviously all of that's going to cost an awful lot of money. Can you foresee battles to be fought with central government?
Well, government are going to be fighting their own battles as they go through a comprehensive spending review, and clearly they're also making the case to the European Union that because this is part of an international effort, money could be found from some of those international resources as well. The key thing for councils is that we need a commitment so we can be clear with our communities they're not being asked to bear an unfair burden, because there isn't just 1 year's funding being made available. There will be money to ensure that those people have the school places, the NHS care and the accommodation that they need beyond year one.
Beyond year one, then what, though?
Well, the commitment we're asking for from government is to ensure that there's funding available to support those people for the time that they remain in the UK. Now, many will come to the UK because they will have the right to work and find themselves getting jobs, settling in as part of our economy and being able to support themselves. But for those who come with very significant care needs, the cost burden for which will fall on public services like the NHS and local councils, we need to make sure there's a plan in place, because the last thing we need is for the media agenda to move on and for local communities to be feeling that they're now asked to bear an unfair burden.
And do you have confidence, should that 20,000 mark be surpassed, that there will be the resources to deal with the people coming in?
Well, I've personally had conversations with ministers in the last 24 hours. I'm very clear that they're committed to finding a resolution to this. Now, clearly it is going to be difficult because we all know that there isn't that much money to go around in the UK public sector at the moment, so we need to find a way of doing this as efficiently as possible. But this kind of work is business as usual for councils. We've managed a 40% reduction in funding, while still supporting many vulnerable people in our country, including those refugees and the 2,000 unaccompanied children who've arrived every year, year on year, because before Syria, of course, we had crises in Afghanistan and in parts of Africa. So we can fix this situation, but we need to make sure that the funding and the resources are there so that it isn't seen subsequently as an unfair burden.